Are we underestimating the power of technology in transforming environmental sustainability and overcoming greenwashing? Well, today I'm going to be joined by the visionary CEO of a company called Glimpact. His name's Christophe, and we're going to be discussing how cutting-edge technology, including smarter algorithms and advanced data analytics, are revolutionising the way that companies understand and tackle their environmental impact. From moving beyond carbon emissions to embracing a more holistic view of sustainability that includes biodiversity, water, soil health, and so much more. But this is a tech podcast, so I want to learn how technology is at the heart of true environmental responsibility. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Paris, where Christophe is waiting to join us today. So, a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you're doing?
Okay, my name is Christophe Girardier. I am a French entrepreneur, and I was a lucky entrepreneur because I co-founded a company which name is Glimpact. Glimpact like global impact. And I come from the strategy consulting area where I have a long experience, and especially in innovation, technology, and sustainability. And I create this company with a specific opportunity where I I have a mission with the European Commission with a wonderful initiative which name is Single Market for Green Product, which was in fact the willingness of the member states of the European Union to create a common and harmonized method to define and measure the environmental footprint of company and products. It was an enormous mission, 5 years, on which I was the opportunity to see all the scientific community, not only Europe. And the result of this was a technology and a scientific approach of the division of environmental footprint, which was absolutely very impressive. And me, with my co-founder, we realized that it was a wonderful asset, scientific asset, but it will be nothing if we don't create the technology to make an access to this methodology, not only for companies, but also for citizens. And this was the origin of Glimpact.
Love that. And we will have people listening all around the world, and some people will be hearing about Glimpact for the very first time. So just to set the scene for our conversation today, can you tell me a little bit more about the problem that we're solving here, the current limitations of eco-labelling, and how you're using technology to enhance accuracy and usefulness of sustainability ratings for consumers?
The key question, because, eco-labeling, which is in fact environmental claim of so many people, company, famous people, states, whatever. And most of the debate, and especially in the context of the Paris agreements, where I was, everybody speak only about carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Everybody said environmental crisis means climate change. But the reality is not that. The environmental crisis is not only climate, it's systemic. And during this very good new scientific approach of the European Union, we realized, the science realized that the environmental crisis is not one impact categories, which is CO2 emission, which is at the origin of the climate change. There is not only one impact categories, but 16 impact categories, which include water use, fossil resources, land use, toxicity, and of course, the state of the biodiversity. So globally speaking, the problem is that in reality, having a focus only on carbon footprint means that you forgot 2/3 of the reality of the environmental footprint of a product or a company. And this is exactly the problem of most of the labeling system and most of the state policy. Everybody speak about climate change. It's important, but it's only one impact categories concerning 16. And this is very important because we realize with this new approach, which is disruptive, you see the stake of environmental crisis not in the same way when you see a systemic vision. And you realize that you could reduce the environmental footprint, the carbon footprint of your product, of your company. But making that, if you don't see that you transfer impact in water, in ecotoxicity, and so on, you could in fact reduce your carbon footprint, but make a catastrophe in the space of environmental, a global vision of environmental footprint. And this is very important because we discover that, in fact, if the humanity could achieve to solve the climate crisis, the humanity will not be saved because there is other impact categories that I mentioned which can kill the humanity. It's exactly the concept of planetary boundaries, which is 9 planetary boundaries, including the climate. And what we have done is to put in place a technology that can address this systemic vision of environmental footprint in order to give to companies, citizens, state, what is the reality of the impact of their product, services, or company, and how to reduce it by choosing the right key leverage and not the one which, in fact, is, for most of the case, greenwashing approach.
And so much I love about what you just said there, because every day on this podcast, I try and get people thinking differently about technology, about the impacts that we all have on the world. And you're right when you say that for the most part, we've all heard of carbon emissions, of carbon footprint and climate change, but not too often do you hear about environmental factors like biodiversity, water and soil health in some of those assessments. So what I also try and do on this show is get people thinking about how technology can fix some of these problems. So how do you at Glimpact utilize AI and data analytics too to help consumer brands improve those sustainability practices and maybe provide an example that would just bring that to life?
Yes. This is a key question also because, everybody has to understand that the concept of environmental footprint is complex. It's not only climate, as I mentioned. It's complex because it takes into account a lot of components. These 16 impact categories, 9 boundaries, planetary boundaries. And if we don't address that through technology, we can't do that. To give you an idea, first to understand how important is your question, the technology is key for solving the environmental crisis in this systemic vision. To give you an illustration of that, when I speak about a global vision of environmental footprint, which takes into account not only carbon footprint, but the 16 impact categories, it's necessary for each evaluation of environmental footprint. You have to make 16 measures for water, for CO2 emission, for land reuse, for fossil resources, and so on and so on. So it means that you have 16 calculations to address. And for each calculation, you have to take into consideration, if we take a product, all the life cycle stage of the product, from the raw material to the end of life. So imagine for each of the components of the product, raw material, industrial process, distribution, end of life, circularity, all this means to identify for each component approximately between 5,000 kind of toxicity substance who can have an impact through these 16 impact categories. In other words, from 2,000 to 5,000 type of pollution, which is gathered through 16 impact categories. So all these have to be measured. So you need a very strong technology using big data concept. This is why we have developed. And in addition to that, you need external data. First, the one which describe how was created the products that you want to evaluate, but also a lot of additional information that the company don't have immediately. Let me give you an example. The environmental footprint on the 16 categories of 1 kilowatt of energy come from thermic energy, nuclear energy, or solar energy. So all this mean a lot of calculation. So to give you an example of what, so this technology first calculates the environmental footprint. Let me take a big brand that is a company which is a customer of Glimpact in Europe and in the world. You know the trademark Lacoste.
Yes.
Lacoste is a well-known French trademark which is in the United States. Lacoste wanted to review all their strategic plans in terms of sustainability. They were, like all the company, focusing on carbon footprint. Through what we have done for them, they realized first that carbon footprint is only one of the 16 impact categories to measure. And when we applied this type approach, Lacoste realized that, in fact, the contribution of the carbon footprint in all the overall environmental footprint of Lacoste company was only 25%, which means that all more than 2/3 of the environmental footprint come from other impact categories than carbon footprint, which is important. So the first step is to understand the reality of your environmental footprint, where this environmental footprint come from, really. So when you measure, you realize. The second step is how you identify the key explanatory factors which explain your real environmental footprint. Our technology, through big data, I will come back to EA just after, could answer to this question. And for example, for Lacoste, they discover that the main key hotspot of their environmental footprint is not the transfer from the country where they create or produce, from China, India, South Africa, and so on and so on. This part of their footprint is less than 5%, which is not what the people said. The reality of the impact was two major things. First, the condition of production of the raw material, which is the fiber, and especially cotton. Where is it done? In which condition? And the second hotspot was some of the industrial process, including dyeing. Dyeing could only be retrieved from 25 to 40% of the origin of the impact of their product. So when you discover that, it's totally change your vision. So Lacoste, through that, identifies these hotspots, change radically what they imagine to have to do, and discover the right leverage to act in order to reduce significantly the environmental footprint of the product. And this is a key point. Most of the carbon footprint analysis is interesting to have, but not enough precise, with a very big reduction in terms of evaluation of the whole component of the environmental crisis. And in fact, you can't take from this analysis any key industrial leverage in order to act to reduce significantly your environmental footprint. So Lacoste have done an enormous project all around the world, from the the farmer of the cotton production to the factories using some industry process to limit the environmental footprint on these two major parameters. And these two parameters, some industrial process and the raw material production condition, all together means approximately 80 to 90% of the environmental footprint. So this is by that way, you can really go through a real ecological transition of the industry.
You raise so many great points there, because I think there are a lot of brands that want to do the right thing. There are a lot of brands that think they're doing the right thing, but are actually not. And a lot are very nervous and anxious about being called out for greenwashing. So how does your approach at Glimpact help companies move beyond that superficial sustainability effort to those more authentic and effective environmental responsibilities? And if you can share around that, and are many of your customers concerned about greenwashing and the impacts of that too?
Yes, you're right. So just to come back to what you say, which is true, you know that European Union have conducted analysis all around the member states of the European Union to identify approximately 200,000 green claims in order to evaluate if they are true or scientifically founded. The result, trust me, 65% of them were not scientific founded. So what could be considered as greenwashing. So this is an enormous big issue. So first of all, I want to say that there is three kind of companies. There is, and I will be frank with you, even I will make trouble for people. First kind of company who wants really to make right thing. So they try to don't make the confusion between sustainability and marketing. So for them, sustainability is not marketing. It's a commitment, not only for the planet, but for the sustainability of their business. So this company, some, but not a lot, don't make greenwashing because they are so afraid to say bullshit things. The second kind of company is a company who have no idea of what is greenwashing and no idea of what is sustainability. Unfortunately, most important, and especially in the United States. And the third one is the people, the company who know that they make greenwashing. They know. And then they want to make that in order to avoid to go through the reality of their impact. There is not a lot of what is. This is the most dangerous greenwashing. So now when I say that, I would say that most of the companies who make greenwashing don't know they make greenwashing. Why? Because they think that local mean good for environment. Not true. Organic food is good for environment. Not necessary. In your T-shirt, this is easy come from a long way. It means that it's not good for the planet, not because it is not the issue. The issue is raw material. So globally speaking, you have in the world as many people who said, I have my own method to measure the environmental footprint. 1,000. This is not possible. And the greenwashing still is the rule today, except in Europe now. And I'm glad, Neil, to share it with you, because this is the news which was last week. And I'm glad to say that I was part of this long debate and fight against greenwashing. And the European Union, the European Parliament, has adopted last week an exceptional new legislation, which is done to avoid, in any case, the greenwashing. What is this legislation? This legislation's name is ESPR, which is Eco-Conception Sustainable Product Regulation. This is voted now, and it will concern all companies in the world who want to sell their product in Europe. And to answer to your question, the first finding of European Parliament who says that we can't accept to have as many definitions of environmental footprint as people or players. The definition of the environmental footprint must be a common scientific-based method. There is no 1,000 method. We need the same method for everybody. This is exactly the method that I mentioned at the beginning, which is a pave method, product environmental footprint method, which was defined by the European Commission for the European Union through the scientific community, including in the United States. So this method defines what means environmental footprint, 16 impact categories, 9 planetary boundaries, okay. And second, how to measure it. Then this new legislation says that everybody has to measure that. And to avoid greenwashing, the first concept of this legislation is that according specific product categories, including apparel and footwear, steel, shoes, cosmetics, and all this detergent, for example, they have to declare their environmental footprint measure according to this method, which must be checked. First way to avoid the greenwashing. Everybody has to measure this environmental footprint, and I will come back to what is the result of that. And the second major announcement of this legislation, that for each product category, according to this method and its finding, European Commission, with the authorization of the state and for the state, will define for all the European market specific eco-conception requirements. Let me give you an example. For the textile industry, all apparel have to be done by at minimum 45% of renewable raw material. So the example. It could be, for example, you can't have a product which have environmental score through this common method below this limit. And this legislation will be applied next, starting 2025. And if company in the world don't respect first their environmental footprint declaration through this common method, eco-conception requirement, they will be not allowed to sell their product in Europe. So it's a first important legislation which make a constraint. You know, usually journalists like you said that there is a COP meeting and everybody discuss. It's a wonderful discussion, but no constraint. Everybody do what they want. Not in this case. It is the first legislation vote in the framework of the environmental Green Deal, European Green Deal, which impose now significant constraints to all players who want to go through the urban market. So to answer to your question, this the only way to fight against the greenwashing you mentioned, Neil, is to see a responsibility of the state or the international institution like European Commission, which say, now stop. You are not allowed to define your own method. If Neil, you start your journey and say, I will define my own method. No. There is a scientific method which have to take into account not only one component of environmental crisis, to not be like this, to have all these components. This method must be defined for everybody, and through this method, an objective vision, we can imagine first to impose to all players not bullshit claim based on their own vision, but a transparent declaration of their real environmental footprint of their product. And then they have to demonstrate how they try to reduce their environmental footprint. Because in any case, for me, I said this to all companies for which we work, and they say, I will give you an idea of our objective in the United States. We want to say to the company, don't be afraid to reveal to your customer your real environmental footprint. The problem is not the result. The problem is how you will define a strategy to reduce it, whatever is your level. The most important is how you reduce it. Okay? But greenwashing is created by ignorance, by no common rule, and environmental footprint is not a marketing subject, it's a scientific subject, and a technology subject, because this is complex. And I know you are an expert of technology. Nel, you know very well all the most important tools that you have in big company. ERP, AI, management of database, and so on. Now, it's necessary to integrate on all information system, all company, the environmental footprint component. It must be at the heart of the information system. This is exactly what we want to create. And for example, I give you the example of Lacoste, but I could take other example come like the Mars Group who work on their product on that. When you integrate this component, it must be at the heart of your information system, and consequently, the consequences is that this environmental performance become a key component of your business model. This is the new area of ecological transition. There is no future for ecological transition if we don't start to measure scientifically, in a scientific way. You know, let's take the example of people who want to be, how can I say that, to become slimmer, you know? Yeah. You want to become slimmer, you. How you do that if you don't have a balance who can give you what is your weight of start, you know? And if everybody decide of their way to measure their weight, how you imagine to change anything? Albert Einstein, trained in the United States, said, nothing can be better if you don't measure the problem first.
100% with you. And I love how Glimpact technology combined with the EU's OEF method provides this comprehensive view of a company's environmental impact. That single scientific point of view is so important. And I love where this could lead to as well. And if you look to the future, how do you see the role of technology evolving in environmental sustainability? Are there any new capabilities that might be necessary to meet rising demands of environmental reporting and accountability in the near future? Because it's a huge talking point now, and entire nations are all looking for answers. And I love this single version of the truth, the scientific version of truth that you're creating. But where do you see this heading in the future?
I think that we are in the stage where I think that not all, but most of the people understand the stake of the environmental crisis. Even most of, and including the United States, not only in the United States, big politicians subestimate this problem, you know, and say, we will. So we are at this stage. We are not, and this is what we prepare, the stage where you realize the reality of the impact, the reality of the consequences on the future of the humanity, because you know that the United Nations said that the first time the humanity could disappear, not in 2000th century. We are in front of a big crisis. Even nobody take care of that. So now the technology I just explained that without technology, you can't take the reality of the problem, and you can't access to the key leverage on which you can act. And I think that the other story that I hear a lot, which is the technology will save us. So don't be afraid. I wait for. It is not true. It is not true because it will be too late if we wait for the evolution of technology. But the technology can still give us a tool and the access of the key leverage on which we can act, not only to reduce the environmental footprint of the existing product, but to change all the business model of the company. This is the future for me. The future is now, and I say this to our customer, you discover your real impact. You discover the key expertise factor. You discover the leverage to reduce it. Now, let me take an example. I have a lot of customers in the textile industry, but not only. Imagine after having done a lot of job in order for a trademark, whatever, Lacoste, Ralph Lauren, they have done a wonderful job to reduce from, let's say, 50% of their footprint. It will be not enough.
Yeah.
So the question is, yes, we have to start with that, which will be wonderful. Next step is to change the business model. Problem, we are in a world where we will not sell apparel and footwear. We will run that with a perfect circularity, to be sure. But this means I don't speak about declination of the growth. I would prefer not to say we have to start to stop the growth. I prefer to change how can I say? It's more than a disruption. Okay? You have to totally change the way we consider the notion of business model and development. So technology can allow us to try to figure how to, because all activity have an impact. The question is how continue to have activity, which kind of activity, which can be compatible with these famous 9 boundary limits, planetary boundaries. Because this is important that the people said that the planet was done with specific balance, specific planetary boundaries limits, In the past, there was no industry, so the nature herself can solve the amount of carbon footprint which was stored in trees and so on. Now there is a big problem of sustainability of the activity, more intensive and so on and so on. With this approach, more scientific and using technology, we can imagine, but we have to do so now for the next century, this new model, which could be sustainable. This is possible. And my vision is not to say the technology will save us. No. Technology will help us to redefine our way to be in this planet by activities, because human need activities, need to create, need to develop, not in the same way. So the technology and the ER must be at the origin of understanding the problem and imagine new model of development, which is not necessarily what we have today.
And I think that is a powerful moment to end on. I cannot thank you enough for coming on here and sharing your insights. But I'm going to see if there's something we can do for you now in return for your time today. And some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or may even listen to this podcast. So is there one person that you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with? Who would it be and why? Because he or she might just be listening to this, and let's see what we can manifest together here. Who would it be and why?
2 people. Let's start by John Kerry, which is Mr. Climate of President Biden. I would say, I want to explain to Mr. Biden that climate change is not the only, the big stake of our crisis is not only climate, And I'm sure I want to convince him and his future will be in the White House, let's say Mr. Trump or whatever. Politicians at this level have to know first what is the stake and what is the reality of the water crisis. So this is key for me, because without political decision like the one I share with you, we can't achieve that. And you know that the political decision could be to define rule, obligation, but also to don't use AI only to replace human, but to use AI to help us to understand this very difficult problem. And the second one will be probably, let's say, either the CEO of Google, the guy or the woman in Google who is in charge of sustainability. Google can play a wonderful role, a wonderful contribution. But if they take into consideration all these systemic dimension, and if they don't avoid the most important leverage of the most important stake of these so big problems that humanity face. And why Google? Because I think that this big company has to give the example, have to be pioneer. They were pioneer for technology, and you know that better than anybody. The pioneer of technology must be also pioneer of this new area of the real business model, which is sustainable or compatible with these 9 planetary boundaries. And this is for me very important, because I will end by this. I can give you the name of this wonderful big brand in the world who just sent me an invitation to tender. This is one of the most well-known trademark in the luxury, and said in their paper they sent to me, we are the must in creativity. We are the must in quality. We want to become also the must in hotel performance. And United States better than me, and in Europe we love America. We don't forget what America has done for us in the Second World War. Americans have to accept the fact that us in Europe have invented this method. They don't have this advantage in the scientific approach of this, but they are probably the one who could implement in the large scale this approach. And I would be glad to convince the CEO of Google to invest as much money in this subject of hotel crisis than invest in AI, because this is a question of our existence, not only future existence. And I think that I know that a big company in the United States want to solve the death problem, but the planet will solve the problem before that. If we don't do the right thing in order to stop this crazy world where we are, we have no limits. But unfortunately, the 9 planetary planets, and don't forget that 6 of this 9 limit is already done. So I think that this systemic dimension of the water crisis must be at the heart of what all technology companies have to address. And that is why that is why we try to do.
And I think that is a powerful moment to end the podcast on today. And I completely agree with you. And you can't improve what you don't measure. And I hope that we'll have a lot of brands listening all around the world that want to start measuring that difference that they can make. And anybody listening wanting to find out more information about Glimpact, about your technology, about the work that you're doing, where would you like everyone listening to check out? Is there a website or somewhere you'd like to point everyone?
So I have two things, and I'm glad to give you this scoop, Neil. So first of all, they can reach us on www.glimpact.com. And we now are in United States, and we will launch next week or the week after a specific mobile phone application, which name is My Glimpact. And My Glimpact will allow all citizens. And I want you, Nell, to be the first, to measure your own environmental footprint according the pave method and taking into account the 16 impact categories of the human activity in the planet. So you will be surprised because this application, in fact, measures your environmental footprint. You know how? It gives you the number of planets that must be if all citizens in the world have the same behavior than you know? So it means your result, for me, my first result was 5 planets. 5 planets, and through this application, I achieve the goal to reduce of 2.3 planets, which is too much, but better than 5. But you will be surprised. I have some of my, this application was just finished for United States. And this is what we launch. We did launch in several days. And you will be surprised for the number of planets, because in United States, as in Europe, every activity have an environmental footprint. And this application can allow you first to see where you are in terms of number of planets. And which is not the most important. What was is how you will commit in order to reduce it. So in other words, 2 planets is not good. 9 planets is not good. 10 planets is not good. But if you reduce from 5, is good.
I will get links added to everything you've just mentioned there, including the app. And I promise you, I will download it and check that out myself. And we covered so much there, from critiquing the current state of eco-labeling and doing it through a technology lens and learning how tech can actually help us understand what true sustainability looks like and how AI can help consumer brands to become more sustainable and do it the right way with a scientific single version of the truth. But more than anything, just thank you for shining a light on this critical topic today. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, Christophe.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
Christophe is an absolute gentleman, and I really do look forward to meeting him in person in Paris one day, a glass of wine maybe. But it's clear, having listened to his powerful message today, that the journey to genuine sustainability, it is complex but essential. And technology, as we've discussed today, plays a crucial role in decoding and addressing this multifaceted challenge. And only by harnessing AI and data analytics can companies like Glimpact pave the way for a future where sustainability is embedded in every aspect of business. But the question remains, can the broader tech industry rise to the challenge and lead by example to ensure our planet's health is preserved? Please share your thoughts and join the conversation as we continue to seek innovative solutions to one of the most pressing issues of our time. And you can share your thoughts by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilCHughes. Love to hear your thoughts on this one. But that's it for today. So I'll be back again tomorrow. We've got a completely different topic, and I will beam your ears somewhere else in the world for another guest. But thank you for listening today. And until next time, don't be a stranger.